I'm a musician, really, who lived on the outside of society most of my life. And I could see it was all crazy from when I was a very small child, so I didn't really want to participate in it. I managed to find a way through, being a musician and all that sort of stuff. So I managed to live on the outside of it and still make a living and be able to get through. And now, it's got to the point that you can't. You can't really ignore it anymore. We have to say something. So that's what I've been kind of doing. Just trying to point out to people the obviousness of the control grid and the fact that the world's run by criminals, and it only happens because we tolerate it and we sort of believe that these people are our leaders. We've got a whole world basically that's suffering from Stockholm syndrome. It's going to hell in a handbasket. And I think we could fix it. I think we could change things really easy if we just woke up to ourselves and started questioning these people, what they're doing. Like the governments that we employ to manage infrastructure for us, what these people are actually doing to us. All these manufactured wars, all this whole world situation, all this world tension, so much of it is theatre. You look at the world and you get to a point where you think, well, if you can see it for what it is, then if you're not speaking out about it and you're not attempting to make change, you're essentially being part of the problem. The whole problem here is that people are not prepared to identify the evil that's around them because they don't want to look. They want to keep everything love and light, all positive. Oh, that's not my reality. You can't ever fix a problem unless you're alerted to what the problem is. And once you see the problem, the fix very often becomes self-evident. It's a kind of a fine line to point out all this negativity to people and attempt to keep the radio shows positive, because that's really what it's all about. I'm trying to inspire people to stand up for themselves and make change, because if we just go with the flow and let things go and come along to their natural conclusion, it's not going to be a very good conclusion, and it's going to be simply through our lack of involvement, and we have an opportunity to get involved. We have a responsibility to get involved, really, especially if you're a parent or anything. The future that's being created is not going to be one that I particularly want my children growing up into. And so, who's going to change that if not us? The responsibility comes down to us. If you can see what the problem is and you don't address it, well, then you're part of the problem. I think we all should participate in making this a better world, and that's what I'm trying to do. People don't realise that how powerful they are, because everything that's wrong with the world, doesn't matter what it is, ultimately it came from a spark of an idea in someone's mind. Someone just had this idea, hey, let's do this. And other people went along with it. Maybe they conspired or whatever. But ultimately, it came from a spark of idea in someone's mind, and that became reality for everybody else. And we can all have these thoughts. We can all have these ability to make change. All we've got to do is have the right idea. And if people around it, hear it and it inspires them, well, then that idea becomes reality. It doesn't matter. Every single problem that we have, every good thing, every bad thing, everything that humankind has ever done ultimately came from the spark of an idea in a single consciousness. We can all do that, and that's the power that we have, and that's the power that people are missing out on. They think they're just little people. I can't do much, I'm just a little person. There's no such thing as little people. We're all equal in this. It doesn't matter what position of office anybody holds. It doesn't matter how much they've got in their bank account. It doesn't matter how big their front door is or what sort of a suit they're wearing, whether they're in fancy dress or whatever. It doesn't matter. They're just people, and it all comes from ideas that people have. That's the whole crux of the biscuit, really. When I kind of left the system when I was in school, I walked out halfway through my third year of high school. I just went, this is ridiculous. By my third year in high school, I'd already been kicked out of 4 schools for arguing with my teachers because they were teaching me crap, and I had my own desk outside the principal's office for my last 6 months of school. And I thought, what the hell am I even doing here? So I just walked out and became a musician, and I identified with that. And then when I had a bad experience, I went on tour for a while, and I left all my stuff with my ex-wife to look after. And when I got back from tour, she wouldn't give it back to me. She said, no, you gave it all to me. If you try to get it back, you can't see your son. I'll get a restraining order against you. So she basically stole my entire life's music collection. And suddenly, music that was always my source of strength, the place I would go to for strength, to get through this system, suddenly became my source of pain, and I had nowhere to go for my source of strength. And that's when I really turned into my activism. Because all I had left was my activism. All I had left was my research and the stuff that I was doing. So I completely immersed myself in that. And then I realized that the music it was a creative outlet, sure, but it was also a bubble that was causing me to not pay attention and not be active in the world around me. And it was an interesting thing because my life led me on this path where I was able to live on the outside of society. I was able to go and research all these places and go to all these exotic places and look at all these ruins and all this ancient historical stuff, do all this stuff, and I had all the time to do it. Plenty of free time as a musician. So I had all the time to research all the things that I needed, and it gave me the ability to get all the information that I needed to do what I'm doing now. And once I had all that information, the universe took all that away from me, took all my music away from me, and it left me with no other option than to step onto the path of activism and becoming active and sharing all the stuff that I'd learned along the way. And along the way, it had also given me the life skills and the ability to be able to live outside the society and to be able to do what I'm doing. I mean, I live a very, very simple life. And even some of the stuff that I say to people about disconnecting from the system, for me it's easy because I've always been outside the system. But I can kind of look at people and think it must be very strange for them when they look at my life. They would think that how on earth have I done this? How on earth have I managed to stay outside the system? And to me, it would be very difficult for a lot of people to simply let go of the trappings of society the way I've done. I mean, honestly, when my ex-wife stole all my music collection and stole all my stuff, it was the greatest gift that the universe had ever given me, because I completely lost attachment for all material possessions. I lost attachment for all external trappings. All I was left with was myself. And I could have gone either way from that point. I mean, I was suicidal at that point. I could have easily gone that way. I didn't. I went a different way. And I chose to become a shining light and share what I know. You know, regardless of the consequences, no stake in the outcome. And hey, if I don't get it right on the shows, I mean, I just come out and offer a perspective to people. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to offer a better way because I can see a better way that humanity could be going. So, like I said, all the stuff that I've learned along the way, it's all given me the life skills to do exactly what I'm doing now. Only I didn't know it at the time. 12 or 14 years ago, like I was living in a homeless shelter in a sugar town, mopping floors to pay for the roof over my head. So yeah, I mean, you can't really get much further down from that point. And when I was at that point, I felt great. I thought, wow, here I am. I've got a new start. That's what it was like, because there was no further to go. I mean, and I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything left. I had the clothes on my back, basically. And look what I've done with that. So it's fascinating when you look at life and you have no stake in the outcome. I mean, everything that just happens is just part of the journey, and it's all about spiritual growth. It's all about you discovering yourself, and everything that happens to you happens for a reason. It's what you do with that information. You know, and I was a hard-headed, reasonably strong-willed person, and I was quite arrogant, really. I mean, I've always been reasonably intelligent and reasonably knowledgeable, but I had this bubble around me of arrogance that, the world's screwed. Nobody's ever going to do anything. Humankind, why would anyone even bother thinking that anybody cares about anybody? Because no one cares about anybody. Because this is the way I'd grown up. I'd thought that the world was just an uncaring place. And even when I came out of the homeless shelter and I started, getting back on my feet again, I was a musician. I was doing all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't until a few years later that all my stuff got stolen. A lot of stuff happened in my life that broke me out of that bubble and made me realize that there's only actually really one of us here. It's like a single consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. That's why I use the term in Lakesh at the end of every radio show, to try to sort of convey that with people. But that's what I've tried to convey to people as well, is it doesn't matter what you did. It matters what you do from this point, because my life was a train wreck up until I was about 40 years old. With all the knowledge and stuff that I've got and all the respect that people give me, I say, oh, hang on a minute, I was a completely dysfunctional train wreck. I was a very intelligent person, but I was my own worst enemy through most of my life. So don't think that you're, however down you've been, don't think that your life is lost. I mean, if I can end up that way and end up in a homeless shelter 12 years ago, well, why would you not have faith in yourself to be able to overcome anything that the world throws at you? Because look what I did. And I did it all on my own. I mean, I had a terrible childhood. I had an abusive childhood. I didn't have a father around. I had, no support from anybody. I realized the world was completely crazy by the time I was 4. And so, yeah, don't ever lose faith in yourself, folks, and don't ever think that, oh, I'm a dysfunctional person. I've been this and I've been that, or I'm not a nice person or whatever, and I can never change. Don't ever think that about yourself, because even having that realization about yourself gives you the opportunity to say, wow, well, I know that now. I know what the problem is. All I got to do is not do that. All I got to do is just do something else. We all have the ability to make incredible change in the world. And all the people that I've reached, I'm just one person, one man who's reached millions of people. And like I said, 12 years ago, I was living in a homeless shelter. So why would anyone out there think that they can't make change? Everything that we experience in the world comes from an idea that was a spark in the mind of a single individual, and you can have that idea that could change the world. We all can. Just don't sell yourself short. The universe has kind of put me in this place, and I don't know how it's all happened. I've just kind of fallen here. And when I look at what my life was, and that's a wonderful thing for people to understand as well. Like life is an emotional mirror. I've tried to convey this to people. It's an emotional mirror. If you put yourself in the emotional state where the prayer has already been answered, then you attract that reality to yourself. You try to say that to people, and they say, "Oh, this is all New Age stuff." And no, it's not. Your life itself is a prayer. There's an electromagnetic conversation going on between you and reality that a lot of people don't understand is going on. And when I changed my perspective, when I was living in that homeless shelter and I changed my perspective and I realized that it's an emotional mirror, like even how I got the job as a radio host. I figured it would be good to be a radio host because I'd be able to get this information out to people, but I didn't know how to be a radio host. I didn't even know about internet radio, didn't know about any of that stuff, didn't even hardly know about, I'd only just discovered YouTube. I thought YouTube was a place where, high school kids uploaded their, home videos and stuff. I didn't know there was any truth movement on YouTube at the time. This was back in 2008. And I had this meditation. I realized everything is an emotional mirror. So I simply put myself in the emotional state where I was a radio host, and I went about my everyday life. Didn't change anything, didn't pretend I was a radio host, just what would it feel like? What would the emotional state feel like if I was a radio host? It's like if you're thinking of what would it be like to be with your perfect partner? Put yourself in the emotional state. How would that actually feel to be with your perfect partner? You put yourself in that state, and that person will walk into your life. And that's what I did. I put myself in the emotional state where I was a radio host, and within 6 weeks, I was offered a job as a radio host by someone completely random. Didn't do anything at all to get the gig as a radio host, but just put myself in the emotional state. So it's that same thing. And since then, I give unconditionally. I give when my intuition tells me to give. I give to people. Sometimes I'll buy the shopping of the groceries of the person next door to me because my intuition tells me I need to buy this person's groceries. I did that one time, and this woman burst into tears. She said it was her. She was down to her last $20. She's never had anyone do anything so kind to her. I'd restored her faith in humanity. This sort of stuff happens, and because I give to people unconditionally, the universe has provided this life for me. It's given me this place. It's given me the ability to be able to continue this message. If you give with no stake in the outcome, don't give because you want the universe to give back to you. Don't give because you think it's cool. Don't give because you want people to perceive you as being a giving person. Just listen to your intuition. Sometimes the best giving you can do to people is not giving to them, letting them heal themselves. That's the best thing you can give them sometimes, So you've got to listen to your intuition and be aware that this electromagnetic conversation is going on between you and reality. It's all coming from your heart, this energy generator of your heart. I look at the body as this quantum instrument, and the heart being the power source and the brain being the quantum instrument that turns possibility into actuality depending on the input it gets from the heart. And the heart is the emotional input that it sends to your brain. This is what creates your reality, and it's a mirror. And since I started operating my life that way, everything has fallen into place, and my life just seems to work. And even if bad stuff comes along to me now, it's not bad stuff. It's just a new part of the journey. It's just a new lesson for me to learn. There's a reason for it to happen. Because ultimately it's about the inner growth that happens in this experience. It's about the information that I gather along the way and what I take with me when I leave this realm. So that's kind of the way I've been looking at it. And since I started looking at it that way, my entire life has just fallen into place. That's what I've been trying to share with people over the years on the show.